After I was reborn, something strange happened. My entire family could hear my thoughts. Should I tell Dad the truth? That his beloved adopted son is actually Mom's illegitimate child? I saw Dad reach for Jason's hand, but he suddenly flinched. Maybe he sensed something. No, not yet. It's too soon to expose everything. And what about my second sister, Zoe? She doesn't know that Mom deliberately raised her to be useless. I glanced at her, glued to her video game, when she suddenly hissed and dropped her phone. It had overheated. If my eldest sister Chloe ever found out that Mom was behind her leg injury, would her heart break? I looked at Chloe sitting quietly in her wheelchair, her expression cold and furious. She knew something was off, even if she didn't understand what. If the whole truth came out, that Mom did all of this just to end up with her first love, this family would fall apart. And it almost did. Because after a few arguments with Jason, the adopted son, Mom actually threw me out of the 13th floor window. I died instantly. But I didn't vanish. Not right away. I became a soul that hovered in the shadows, unseen and unheard, following Mom. That's when I learned all her secrets. She married my dad not for love, but for status, so she could climb the social ladder. Her heart always belonged to another man. And she even had a child with him, Jason. Her grand plan? Marry into the Miller family, seize the assets, and one day live in luxury with the man she loved and the son she favored. But life gave me a second chance. I woke up in my younger self's body, on the very day Mom brought Jason home and introduced him as an adopted child. "Jason, hurry up and call him Dad," Mom said sweetly, pushing him toward my father. Jason was trembling, eyes darting away from everyone's gaze. The welts on his arms, faintly visible through his sleeves, were a clever touch, evidence of some fake past abuse. It worked. In my first life, Dad had pitied him from the very beginning, treating him better than he ever treated me. This time, as Dad reached out to Jason, I debated, should I tell him the truth? He held Jason's hand, then flinched, startled. He looked around, confused, and then stared straight at me. I blinked, innocent. "Don't look at me like that, Dad. It's not time yet." Dad frowned like he was hearing voices, because he was. My thoughts were echoing in his mind. Just like before, Jason dove into Dad's arms, crying. In my first life, that moment melted Dad's heart. He even cried with him. But now, he just stood still. His gaze never left me. "Leo, were you just talking?" Dad asked, eyes wide. "No," I said out loud. "I can't let him know I've been reborn. He'll think I'm a monster." Dad's face paled with disbelief. Mom swooped in quickly, wrapping her arms around Jason. "Don't cry, baby. This will be your home from now on." Then she turned to me, all smiles. "Leo, take your new brother to his room." "Sure," I said calmly, but in my mind I thought, in a moment, Jason's going to throw himself down the stairs and blame me. Halfway up, as expected, Jason suddenly fell. Mom ran to him, all panic and drama. "Jason, are you okay? It's not Leo's fault, right?" I slipped. Jason whimpered painfully. "It's not Leo's fault, but Mom turned on me anyway." "Leo, Jason's your brother now. How could you? Have we spoiled you so much that you're this cruel?" Dad walked over, face unreadable. Jason quickly turned to him and said, "Dad, please don't be angry at Leo. He just hasn't accepted me yet." This was how it started in the first life, the seed of doubt planted in Dad's heart. This time I braced myself. Here we go again. They'll never believe me, but then... slap. Dad smacked Jason across the face. Everyone froze. "I saw everything," Dad said coldly. "You fell on your own, and you dared to frame Leo. No wonder you were returned after being adopted. Pitiful. People often have a hateful side." Mom stood there stunned. Her plan was unraveling already. She tried to salvage it. "Jason's just traumatized. He misjudged. Don't scare him like this." Dad looked like he was about to expose her, but then my thought slipped out again. If you expose her now, she'll only deny it and act innocent. She still holds shares in the company. Dad paused. My sisters will side with her. She's the gentle one. If this turns into a war, she'll win. He sighed. I don't want to see anything like this again, he said quietly, then instructed Mr. Wilson to take Jason to his room. Mom tried to stop him, to explain, but Dad ignored her. He took my hand and walked off without looking back. She looked completely thrown off. Usually a few sweet words could bend Dad's mood. Not this time. Back in my room, Dad looked me straight in the eye. Leo, do you know something about your mother? I blinked, playing innocent. No. If I tell him everything now, he'll think I'm just trying to destroy Mom's image again. Just like last time. He won't believe me. His eyes welled with tears. You're my son, he said softly, voice full of guilt. In this life, I'll always love you most. I love you too, Dad, I said, and I meant it. From that day on, Dad changed. He became cold toward Mom and Jason. When Jason tried to impress him, he ignored it. When Mom got affectionate, he brushed her off. He even started going to the company more, probably checking on the shares. At dinner, I caught Mom and Jason whispering in a corner. He's supposed to be easy to control, Jason said in frustration. Why isn't he falling for it? Mom sighed. Maybe he's moody lately. Let's just focus on Zoe. She's coming back from university tomorrow. You win her over, everything else will follow. Got it. Once I replace Leo in this family, everything will be ours, Jason smirked. That was how it happened last time, but not this time. The next day, Zoe came home, 200 pounds, food-loving, lazy, and spoiled. She'd been raised to be useless under Mom's guidance. Jason greeted her first, whispering into her ear, I got you chips, fried chicken, spicy noodles, and your favorite Coke. They're in your room. Don't tell Dad. Zoe's eyes lit up. Dad always banned junk food. Even Mom had to sneak it in before. Jason was winning her over. Zoe is already overweight and still stuffing herself with junk? Does she want to die fat and alone? I thought absently. Zoe froze. She turned to me, glaring. What did you just say? I didn't say anything, I replied innocently. But she had heard me. Better not tell Zoe she was deliberately raised to be useless. Or that if she keeps eating like this, she'll end up with esophageal cancer, skin and bones before death. Zoe stared at me in horror. She handed me a gift. Do you like action figures? I got you one. Thanks, I muttered, though in my heart I said, she'll take this back once Jason gets to her. Jason's eyes lit up. Wow, it's beautiful. If only I had something like this. In my past life, Zoe had ended up giving it to him and promising to buy me another, which she never did. So this time I handed it to him without hesitation. If you like it, take it, I said. Otherwise, Zoe will just ask me to anyway. Jason beamed. Really? Thanks, Leo. But I knew what came next. He would drop it, break it, and then blame me. Jason let go. The action figure slipped through his fingers and shattered against the floor with a sharp crack, pieces scattering like fragments of trust. He let out a wail, eyes wide with shock and sorrow. Such a beautiful action figure. How could it break? I've dreamed of having one since I was little. Then crying, he looked at me with teary eyes. Leo, even if you didn't want to give it to me, you didn't have to break it, right? Before I could say anything, he turned to Zoe and added with fake generosity, Zoe, please don't blame Leo. He must have just been careless. Zoe looked confused. Why would I blame Leo? She asked, her voice flat, her expression unreadable. Jason froze. That wasn't in the script. He had expected her to scold me, to take his side. Zoe's face twisted in irritation. You're the one who dropped it. If anyone's at fault, it's you. Jason stammered. It was Leo. He threw it on the ground when he handed it to me. I mean, it's okay. I won't hold it against him. You won't hold it against him? Zoe raised her voice, eyes narrowing. What gives you the right to not hold it against him? You dropped it, and now you want to act all noble? What exactly are you trying to pull here? Jason's face turned bright red. Who let you into this house anyway? Zoe snapped. Get out. Go back to wherever you came from. This family doesn't need you. She stepped toward him, clearly intending to drag him out by force. Jason started crying loudly, panicked and cornered. Mom, who had deliberately stayed out of the living room to give Jason space to win Zoe over, finally rushed out when she heard the shouting. Dad was still at the office, unaware of what was unfolding. What's going on? Mom's face was tense. Zoe, how can you treat your brother like that? He's not my brother, Zoe shot back immediately. Leo is my brother. You brought that kid home, then take him away again. What nonsense! Jason is part of this family now. Mom barked, pulling Jason close. You're not a child anymore. You should be more sensible. She looked at Jason, wiping his tears. Your brother even went out of his way to buy snacks for you, risking your father's anger. And this is how you repay him? That last line hit a nerve. I saw Zoe's face darken instantly. She opened her mouth, ready to fire back, until she suddenly heard my thoughts. If I were Zoe, I wouldn't argue with Mom right now. It won't work. Mom brought Jason here to take over the family. If Zoe wants to fight back, she should work on herself and catch them off guard. Zoe's lips clamped shut. Her anger simmered just beneath the surface, but she swallowed it down. Whatever, she muttered. Leo is my only brother. With that, she grabbed my hand and stormed off, leaving Mom and Jason stunned, standing in the middle of the living room like chess pieces on the wrong side of the board. They couldn't figure it out. Why were we suddenly so sharp, so united? Why wasn't their manipulation working anymore? In her room, Zoe furiously tossed all the snacks Jason had brought her into the trash. Then, as if something inside her had clicked, she deleted every game from her phone. She turned to me, her face serious. Hey, Leo, have I ever let you down before? I shook my head gently. No, I've always known you're the best, but in my heart, I added, you were just tricked by Mom. You're smart. I know you'll shine on your own. Zoe gave a small smile. Her eyes softened, like something old had melted away. I'm going to become someone better, she said, voice low but firm. From now on, no one will be allowed to bully you, not even Mom. I believe you, I said, full of pride, and she meant it. The very next day, Zoe went to the hospital. For a full checkup, hired a personal trainer, and laid out a strict weight loss plan. She stopped eating junk, picked up her books again, and hired tutors to help her catch up on years of missed education, from elementary level onward. The entire winter break, she focused on studying and bettering herself. Mom and Jason were stunned. They hadn't even done anything yet, but somehow everything was slipping away. Meanwhile, Dad had resumed going to the company every day. Mom, who had once been the de facto authority behind the scenes, was now slowly being pushed out. The board of directors, who once considered siding with Mom, began leaning away from her. Her influence was unraveling. One night I overheard her venting to Jason again, this time with obvious frustration. What's wrong with you? I told you to come back and win over the family. How did you end up making such a mess of everything? I don't know, Jason sobbed. I did everything you taught me. They just don't believe me. Mom paced, fuming. You're pushing this further and further from our plan. If this keeps up, how am I supposed to bring your father here to enjoy life? Jason clenched his fists. Just wait. Chloe is coming home for New Year's soon. She trusts you more than anyone else, right? Yes, Mom said, softening slightly. Chloe is the one person we can count on. Jason nodded. I'll make her like me. He was determined. He believed he was better than me, more clever, more presentable. And in the past life, he'd succeeded. When Mom threw me off that rooftop, Jason had stood over me and said coldly, I made you lose. Everything. With just one finger. Back then, Dad and my sisters had grieved, but eventually they were won over by Jason's sweet lies. And then, Mom and Jason destroyed them too. Not this time. This time, it was their turn to face ruin. A week before New Year's, Chloe came back from rehab abroad. 6 months ago, her car brakes had failed during a rainstorm. It was a terrible accident.
Dad and I had been overseas at the time, and Mom had been the first to reach her. The road had collapsed. The ambulance couldn't reach the scene.
They said Mom carried Chloe on her back for several kilometers in the rain. A passerby filmed the entire thing. It went viral. A mother's love, they called it. Everyone believed it. Everyone loved her more. But it had all been a lie. Mom had arranged for someone to tamper with Chloe's brakes. She wanted Chloe gone. With Chloe dead and Zoe useless, the family business would fall to me, easier to manipulate, and then Jason could replace me. But Chloe hadn't died. Mom hadn't planned to save her. But once people started filming, she had no choice but to stage a heroic rescue. Later, she pushed for Chloe to receive treatment abroad, saying it would help her recover. Half a year passed. Chloe remained paralyzed. "Chloe, you're finally back." Jason greeted her the moment she arrived. He beamed at her like an excited puppy. "I've heard so much about you from Mom. You're mature, graceful, even better looking than I imagined." Chloe had grown distant since her injury, quiet, guarded. Even when Dad and I visited her abroad, she sent us away. But Jason's enthusiasm seemed to wear her down. "You must be tired from the flight," he said. "Let me massage your shoulders." He began rubbing her back like a practiced therapist. "I even learned how to massage legs for blood circulation. I'll help every day if you want." Chloe looked uneasy, but let him continue. I didn't interfere. Let him perform. Let him climb. The higher he gets, the harder he'll fall. Jason quickly won over Chloe. His confidence returned. He strutted around the house like a peacock. Mom beamed with pride. Her son, perfectly crafted and finally getting recognition. So they made their move. Jason's 15th birthday was scheduled just before the new year. Mom planned a huge party, inviting family and influential friends. It was the perfect moment to formally introduce Jason to the world. Dad didn't want to do it. He hated Jason, but chose to stay silent for now. He didn't want to tip our hand too soon, so Mom handled all the preparations herself. On the day of the party, the house was buzzing with guests. Jason, dressed in a stylish pink suit, followed Mom like a prince at court. Dad locked himself in his study. Zoe stayed in her room, claiming she had to study. Only Chloe came down, because Mom had convinced her. While Jason and Mom mingled, Jason eventually found me standing alone at the dessert table. He grinned. "Leo, this suit? Chloe bought it for me. Isn't it amazing?" He spun in place, clearly trying to provoke me. "Don't you think it suits me?" I gave a half smile. "It does. Looks great." "You're not jealous?" he asked, confused by my calm. "Not at all," I said. "Chloe's bought me a lot of clothes before. Today's your birthday. She bought it for you. What's there to be jealous of?" Jason's smile faltered. This time, I wasn't falling for it. Jason looked completely stunned on the floor, clutching his arm, unsure whether to cry or scream. Everyone in the hall went silent, shocked by what they had just seen. Mom was the first to react, her voice sharp and full of disbelief. "Chloe, what are you doing? How could you treat Jason like that? Have you lost your mind?" Chloe let out a cold laugh, her expression darker than I'd ever seen. "Lost my mind? No, Mom. I think I've just found it again." Mom's face stiffened. Chloe turned her sharp gaze toward Jason, who was still sprawled on the floor, pretending to tremble. "Touch me again, and next time I won't be so gentle." Jason's pitiful act cracked for just a second. He looked genuinely afraid now. "I used to think I owed you," Chloe said, her voice shaking, not with fear but fury. "That you saved me, cared for me when no one else did. But now I know better." Mom looked around, eyes darting between stunned guests. "Chloe, listen. No." You listen. Chloe's voice cut through the tension like a blade. You tampered with my car. You left me to die. A gasp rippled through the room. Mom froze. I spent 6 months alone overseas thinking I was broken, useless, waiting for you to send anyone to help me recover, but you never did, because you didn't want me to stand up again, did you? That's nonsense, Mom shouted, her mask of calm cracking. Why would I ever do that to you? To make room for him, Chloe pointed at Jason. Your son. Your real son. The one you've been grooming to replace us all. Jason began to sob again, but it didn't have the same effect this time. The people around him weren't rushing to comfort him. They were watching him like they were seeing a stranger for the first time. Zoe crossed her arms. So it's true then? Dad stepped forward, his face grim and unreadable. Is it? His voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried through the room with frightening weight. I don't know what they're talking about, Mom stammered. They're confused. Enough. Dad cut her off, his voice ice cold now. We're not confused. We've just been blind for too long. He turned to me, his expression softening just for a moment. Leo, is it true? Everything? I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Because right then they all heard my thoughts. Again, I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't want to say anything. I was afraid. Afraid you wouldn't believe me like before. Afraid you'd stop loving me again. But yes, it's all true. Tears welled in Dad's eyes. He nodded slowly. You should have told me sooner. I tried, I thought quietly. In my past life. And you called me selfish. Zoe looked devastated. Chloe, furious. And Mom looked like the ground beneath her had disappeared. Jason was trembling, his mask fully shattered now. You're all crazy. I didn't do anything. Mom, say something. But Mom had no more words left. Not lies, not comfort, not even rage. Dad looked at the crowd of guests, friends, relatives, shareholders, now whispering among themselves, many casting judgmental stares at Mom and Jason. Party's over, he said coldly. Everyone out. One by one, people began to shuffle toward the exit, whispering, glancing back with curiosity and shock. Chloe, still seated in her wheelchair, wheeled over to me. Her hand gently rested on my shoulder. Leo, she said softly, from now on, I'll protect you. I looked up at her, and for the first time in both my lives, I believed her. The Miller family wasn't broken. Not yet. But the people who tried to break it, they were finally about to face the consequences. The way Chloe looked at Mom. It was like she wanted to tear her apart with her bare hands. In my last life, after I died and lingered as a soul, I learned the truth about everything. Back then, I'd wished I could bite Mom to death, but I couldn't do a thing. So this time, I forced myself to calm down. Chloe didn't have hard proof yet. If she said something now, no one would believe her. They'd think we were all ganging, up on poor Jason. It wasn't worth letting them drag our family's name through the mud. But we had one advantage. They'd forgotten about the house's surveillance cameras. If we just played the footage, we'd know the truth about who tore Jason's clothes. I could see my sister trying to keep herself together. Mom, however, had already started scolding Chloe in front of everyone, saying the accident had made her temper worse. Some of the guests even nodded along. They still believed Mom's mask, until Chloe spoke. Mr. Wilson, she said coldly, pull up the security footage from the main hall. Just now. Jason froze. He turned to Mom in a panic. Even Mom's mask cracked for a second. What's the point of pulling up footage? She asked, voice trembling. But Chloe ignored her. Then Mom snapped. No need to check any footage, she barked. That's when Dad finally spoke. His voice was ice cold. Play it. The entire room went silent. Yes, sir, Mr. Wilson said quickly and turned toward the control panel. Jason, seeing that there was no escape, scrambled to his feet. Since Chloe doesn't want me here and no one in this family wants me, I'll leave, he said dramatically. No one leaves, Chloe snapped. Not until my brother's name is cleared. Even with her legs still paralyzed, Chloe's presence was commanding. She hadn't been handpicked by Dad as the heir for nothing. For a moment, Jason shrank into himself. Mom opened her mouth a few times but didn't dare say anything, and then the footage played. The truth was right there for everyone to see. Jason stepping on his own suit hem and faking the whole incident. Gasps filled the room. The crowd that had been whispering about me a moment ago now looked horrified. Dad didn't waste a breath. Send him away, he said, turning to the staff. I never want to see him again. No, I'm not leaving, Jason shouted, panic rising in his voice. Please, Dad, give me another chance. I'll be better, I swear. He was crying now, really sobbing, the same way he had back then, so convincing that if you didn't know better, you might actually feel sorry for him. But Dad wasn't fooled anymore. He didn't even look at him. Take him out. Jason turned to Mom. Mom, please! Say something. Mom's expression twisted, but then, seeing there was no way out, she suddenly distanced herself. I didn't know he was like this. I was deceived too, she said to the guests. I never thought he'd do something like this. I'll send him away right now. Don't be angry. Dad just chuckled coldly. You really didn't know? But Mom went on, switching to damage control mode. He hurt Leo, she said with a pained face. That's what hurts me the most. I barely kept from laughing out loud. She was unbelievable. Then Dad said, words won't undo what's been done. If you want to apologize, do something real. Mom looked at me and smiled. Leo, tell Mom what you want. Anything. I'll give it to you. Anything? I asked, wide-eyed and innocent. Of course, she said gently. When has Mom ever lied to you? I want your shares in the Miller Corporation. Her face froze. For a moment, she looked like she'd just swallowed poison. You're only 14, she finally said. You wouldn't know how to manage them. But you were ready to give Jason shares, I cut her off. Am I not as important to you as him? Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Dad spoke again, tone sharp. Didn't you say those shares were just to help me with work? Now you can't even part with them? The pressure was mounting. The crowd was watching her, waiting. I'll give 10%, she finally said through gritted teeth. I gave her a hurt look. Wasn't Jason worth more to you? Dad stepped in again. You told me you were keeping those shares for the children. If they're going to Leo, what's the problem? Mom was cornered. Sweat dotted her forehead. People in the crowd started whispering, casting doubt on her so-called generosity. Then Zoe spoke up, clear and cool. I don't want any shares. Just give mine to Leo. That shut down Mom's last excuse. Fine, she said through clenched teeth and forced a smile. I'll give them to Leo. After all, you kids are what matter. Dad didn't wait. He called the lawyer in front of everyone and the transfer was signed on the spot. I saw it in her eyes. Mom never imagined that bringing Jason back would cost her everything. Her plan had completely backfired. But for us, it still wasn't enough. In my past life, she had destroyed us. In this one, we would return every scar. After Jason was gone, the house finally felt peaceful. But Mom, she started to unravel. No control over the company. No shares. Nothing. So she ran. Said a distant relative had an emergency and she had to go back to her hometown. But that night, while we all slept, she returned. She rented a car, drove, for hours, and set fire to the villa. It was 3 a.m. We were fast asleep. By the time the fire was discovered, the entire house was engulfed. By morning, all that was left was ash, and Mom came back right on cue. She knelt in front of the ruins, wailing. If I had known, she sobbed, I would have died with you. What's the point of living now? She wept so bitterly that even the neighbors came over to comfort her. No one saw the sly smile flicker in her eyes until she heard my voice behind her. Mom. She froze. Her body trembled violently. Then she turned, wide-eyed, and saw us, Dad, Chloe, Zoe, and me, standing there perfectly fine. We had gone on a sea trip the day before. She had no idea. Her whole plan ruined. You're ghosts, she whispered. No, I smiled. We're alive and well. What happened to the house? She tried to recover, muttering about stray cats and faulty wiring. I think the cameras might have caught something, I said casually. Let me check. Before I could take out my phone, she lunged and smashed it to the ground. Everyone stared at her. Then she smiled, sweet as honey. It doesn't matter. As long as our family is safe, nothing else matters. Dad's face hardened. Our family is together, he said coldly, but not with you. Her smile faded. What do you mean? She asked, her voice cracking. I've already handed the evidence to the police, Dad said. The video of you setting the fire, they're on their way. No, you're lying, she panicked. And then the police arrived. She ran. They tackled her to the ground like it was nothing. As they dragged her into the car, she shrieked, How did you know? How did you find out? I did everything perfectly. Even as she screamed, I felt no pity. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Lucky there were no casualties. I visited her once. The moment she saw me, she grew frantic. Leo, you still love Mom, don't you? When I get out, I'll take you to the amusement park. I'll buy you candy. I don't love you. I cut her off, disgusted. Then why did you come? To laugh at you. Her face went pale. You're not Leo, she whispered. You can't be. Oh, I am, I said, smiling darkly. But not the version you remember. Why did I fail? She asked, desperate. I did everything right. Why? Because heaven always punishes the wicked, I said, staring straight into her eyes. How else would I have been reborn? She screamed and lunged at me, but the guards held her down. I stepped closer, watching her struggle. Let me give you a parting gift, I said softly. Jason isn't your biological son. Her whole world stopped. I smiled. Go find out, yourself. That'll be your last act of motherly love. And I walked out of that prison, the sky above me bright and blue. This time, I had my family, and I would never let anyone take them from me again.